This game gets me lavishly wet. Squirt large projectiles. Ooh, no coming back from that, I'm afraid. It's a little bit damp. How more exciting can it possibly get? America is burning. Oh, the enemy are now squirting at us. Yes, that gets me rather excited. That's not ideal. Oh yeah, 3 more. That is shafted. That is not what we want on our own battleships. Something else is going pop. No, not another one! No! Torpedo in the water. Oh my god! Look at the size of that hole! The list is ridiculous. The headache you get from being in there is astronomical. Instant gaming is fantastic. I get my games from here. The game you are currently watching is probably on here as well. All for Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, all of it. What are you waiting for? Save yourself some money. There's a link in the description of this video. Just for your convenience. Click it now. Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. This game gets me lavishly wet, and it should do you as well, as we squirt large projectiles inside of the enemy. How more exciting can it possibly get? It's been a while since I've properly tickled this one. Last time I did a bit of a YouTube thing on it. It was with the Americans and with the Shipyard Champions thing that was going on, and still is, by the way. But that was many moons ago, and I thought I'd give it another tickle, seeing as there's been some major updates since, some new holes. The game works completely different now, and I enjoyed it when I had a little tickle, and I thought, yes, now is the time to return. These are my previous saves of ticklage, and now this is what we are going to be tickling mainly. A British Empire campaign. I could not help myself. Started in 1890, obviously it was January then, but I've skipped ahead slightly just to avoid some of the faff, so that you don't need to get too bogged down in all of that. So, what on earth is going on? Well, as Britain, I have a lot of ships, lots of money, as you can imagine, and a vast empire, which is vastly stretched out and needs protecting from any dirty bastard that tries to come and have a go at me. So I've come up with a cunning plan. The Americans are always a bastard, and it's about time someone gave them a good shafting. Sorry, American viewers, you're gonna get shafted, or at least that's the plan anyway. So, yeah, we're gonna go that way. Reclaiming the colonies for the British Empire has to be done before we claim other regions of the world again. With this wrong must be corrected. Another major part of the game, which I'm going to be pushing heavily on this campaign, is minor nations. I very much would like to grab as many of them as possible and absorb them. Excellent. The more little outposts I have everywhere, yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass when you've got to defend them all. However, say if I was to grab Pearl Harbor, for example, before the Americans do, I could then use that to supply a fleet over here, which is actually on its way somewhere. There it is. Now we can resupply it just about from the Falklands and this little area over here, which I didn't know existed until now. But yes, we want to give the Americans a thorough shafting. The main point being is that they have a lot of oil, and Britain needs oil. Oil is everything. Not yet, but it certainly will be rather soon. And with America having lots of oil, I'm jealous and British, and I would like it, so I'm going to take it. Currently, the Germans have more production of oil, and I can't be having that. So America's going to get it. I have been doing prodding, and they're minus 35 currently. When it reaches minus 100 we can murder them. That is proving more difficult than what it needs to be, but we are going to get there. In terms of allies, currently I'm thinking and slowly working towards the Italians. You might be thinking, well, what is the point in that? Well, because Britain in this stage is so much mightier than Italians, then they're probably going to go and get all excited that they're going to have a rather big, juicy friend to protect them. But little do they know that I'm only going to be using them so that I have a rather good staging ground in the area to potentially take the Ottoman Empire's territories, which are all slowly rebelling, which is excellent. And as we know, this area of the world generally produces a lot of oil. And yes, more oil is more money, which is So if I can get buddy-buddy with the Italians and use their ports and their troops when I want them, yes, that is a benefit. And I suppose I'll protect them a little bit. As for the French, no, they're far too...
Auto shutdown initiated.
Ooh, what does that mean? This new microphone talks to me, it's scary, and it said, auto shutdown initiated. So we don't want that, do we? No. Well, anyway, yes, the Italians, we're going to get buddy-buddy with them. If they expand a little bit, I'm fine with that. They're fairly contained. Another potential ally I may consider is Japan. But the thing is, I do not want to get dragged out in a war with China. And the main factor behind that is manpower. They have so many bodies that they can throw at you, it's unbelievable. And the way the game currently works at the start of all of this is that it takes a rather long time to get your army force back up to scratch. Population is a factor. China has so much of it, it's ridiculous. So if I was to get dragged into a war with China, we'll end up sending troops across the borders of India and just get murdered. And I do not want that. So, sorry Japan, you're not having it. If anything, I'd like to become friends with China, so I could use their manpower. However, overall, I'm not too concerned about all of this just yet. So, to be clear, immediate goals. America. Neutral countries, lots in the Caribbean, which will also help to piss off the Americans, so the Caribbean. And Middle East for oil. And get chummy with the Americans. Sorry, no, absolutely not. The Italians, there we go. As it stands currently, nobody's at war, nobody's immediately going to be going to war. Spain might tickle America, that could come in handy, but we'll just have to see. Finances, transport capacity I've got up to the maximum. Once this reaches 200%, that's the biggest bonus we can get. I'll reduce it again, that will relinquish more money from the monthly budget. Shipbuilding capacity, I want this quite high filled all the time. Constantly want to be building new ships all the time. Because you get ones which are rubbish. You get ones which are, say, plus 15% overweight. And then the maintenance cost of the same ship is ridiculously much higher. I'll show you what I mean later on. This will, however, mean that I'm not going to be that bothered about building ships for other nations. The best thing I'm probably going to do is, for example, those overweight ones, which are rubbish, selling them on to those nations. So I'll get a little bit of money back, but I get what I want. As much money in tech and crew training as I can spare currently. I want the crew trained at least somewhat. When combat happens, it makes the biggest difference imaginable. And research and tech obviously makes a massive difference. That needs to be done as well. But there's only so much you can do. Research. I'm prioritizing boilers currently. I'll show you why soon. But we need our engine efficiency higher. And this is one of the main ways to do it. I want induced boilers. I'm also prioritizing torpedoes. In the 1890s, gun accuracy is abysmal. And you end up going point blank anyway, most of the time before you actually start hitting the enemy. And with the fleet composition that I'm going for, generally torpedoes are quite heavy. So, torpedo production, not production, I can't get my words out. Propulsion is going to be a big one. If I can increase the range, that will be a major factor. And I would very much like defensive minefields. That's going to be a rather large factor in helping defend from enemy shenanigans. How effective they are in this build of the game, I'm not too sure. However, I'm going to give it a bash. Ships that I am currently building. Let's show you what's going on, shall we? So this is the torpedo boat. Now, despite having 4 funnels, this has an engine efficiency of 56%. Now, this is why I want the induced funnels, and generally this is quite quick, but there's very little guns on there. If it hits another torpedo boat, great, but that's not the main focus. The torpedoes at the back are the main effort here. Cheap torpedo blappage, that's all that these are. It's expendable. If it sinks, don't really care. But these have the possibility of sinking a much pricier ship. If one of these manages to get 3-4 torpedoes away on a battleship, for example, yes, that battleship might cost 25 million. This only costs just over $500,000. So you can see the benefit there. Then we have this. This is a little bit on the extreme side of as small and as cheap as you can get it. At only 871 tons, this is just basically a small gunboat filled with lots of 4-inch guns. These are mainly for screening. Now, this is considering that the enemy probably will not have much armour to speak of. Now, accuracy is a bit of an abysmal thing to go on, and this is cheap and cheerful, so we've just stuck a load of guns on a small boat and hope for the best, essentially. Whether this works or not, probably not. I expect to lose a few. Armour on these is not exceptional. There's only 1.6 on the main belt, but there is a good amount of guns on there. And then we have, actually, something else of note before I move on. This has 6 underwater torpedo tubes as well. This is a torpedo cruiser. Lots of torpedoes again. Now then, back to the next one. This is, yes, it's a light cruiser, but with 2 fat 7-inch guns on that. Mainly just to uppity the firepower a little bit. Now these are pretty flimsy, they stick together a little bit more than the light torpedo cruisers with a 2.8-inch main belt, but those 7-inch guns should be able to slap an enemy sideways a little bit if it gets a bit closer. So if those 4-inch guns from the other ones can't pen it, then these should be able to pen it. Just cheap, big firepower, really. Then we have the battleship. This is actually quite nice. I like this. These are 9-inch guns, which you might think, meh, is that it? Well, don't sniff at that, because these will penetrate, 15 point something inches, and that's with the 40% armor quality. Now the maximum armor I can actually put on this is around 10.5, so these will go through. Now the maximum range these are really going to hit is around 5,000 meters, half reliably, and they will pen. This So, in theory, it's alright. Now we've got lots of little guns on here, because, well, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, just on the forecastle there, and a few on the back down here. These smaller little whatsits on the sides as well, they're nothing fantastic, apart from maybe these. I think they're a 6-inch casemate. But they're mainly for fending off the smaller ships. These bigger guns should be able to reload quite quickly, as it's a 9-inch gun, and should penetrate through. The armour on this thing is as good as it's probably going to get. Honestly, it's not actually too bad. It's quite well rounded. Again though, displacement really low. I do not want huge, big, ginormous ships at this point in time. We need numbers. So you have the main 4 ships there, and together you've got 2 of these in a fleet. They're going to be taking on anything half decently sized. You're going to have 2 of these in a fleet as well. These are just added firepower for, say, armoured cruisers. And then you're going to have 8 of these in a fleet as screeners. They should be able to fend off other light cruisers and torpedo boats. And then we have 8 of these also in a fleet. Lots of torpedoes, which should give the enemy something to think about. Any lone battleships that we can sneak up on and squirt away at. Excellent. We're going for cost effectiveness at this point. And at the beginning of the campaign, I managed to sniff out 220 ships of all these. That was 11 task forces. That's not bad. Yes, they're all very low displacement, but value for money, yes, excellent. Now, each one of these fleets that I have is over the 25,000 displacement benchmark. It comes to around 32 or 33,000, which means every single fleet can perform a naval invasion. Yes, that is one of the biggest things right now. The tonnage required for it has been reduced to 25,000. So, I've got 11 fleets which can all do naval invasions in 1890. Each single one has the range at maximum. This means they have the increased, as it says here, probability of convoy raids, which is so essential right now in this build of the game, as convoy raids absolutely decimate the enemy's GDP, which means the cash, you've got to protect your own. So important as well, it really is. Decreasing maintenance penalty on distant travels as well. They're going to be floating about everywhere. Now we should be able to supply most things throughout the world, as we have lots of little outposts everywhere, being the British. So hopefully we can overcome that. Every single ship that I have, we have the heavy shell size, increasing the penetration and damage, and the penetration for the deck as well, not just the sides. And another ship that I have designed is this. You might think, well, what is that? Yes, you are correct, it's bugger all. However, inside of it, it has mines. I've just researched them, and I'm going to stick one of these in every single port if I can. So every British port will have a minefield in it. This is why I'm going for the research of the defensive minefields. I'm hoping it can really help protect our convoys. This is how much an investment I'm willing to try and make to just, yeah, really fix it. We'll see. It's a bit of an experiment. We are learning on the job. This is as cheap as a boat as I can get, to be honest. I should be able just to refit this time and time and time again, as we're only using 32% of the weight, which is at the minimum anyway, as we increase our total mine laying capacity or whatever else. It should be fine. So it's just one refit and everything should be dandy. Excellent. As time progressed as well, there is a potential replacement for this. For something a little bit more sturdy. These are not combat proven yet. But I've got a funny feeling we're probably going to lose a few. Even though they are rather cheap. Now, the option is there for the semi-armoured cruiser, which I didn't have that option before. The only problem is when I made a little bit of a spaff ship of this, it ended up costing nearly double. Now I'm not going to be able to afford to have all those ships costing nearly double. So we might just have to stick it out with the cheap crap for now, until more technology is available at least. But yes, look at all these ships. 22 battleships, 120 light cruisers, 96 torpedo boats. And all of the nations have less. No, I am not cheating. This is because I have gone for cheap, numerous ships rather than expensive shebang ones. Together, they should be able to overwhelm the enemy, and I can have enough forces everywhere in the world, hopefully. And as time goes on, we get more money, we conquer more provinces, we should be able to get the better stuff then. So, where are our ships then? Well, we have some over in Singapore, hoping to spark some conquest in Malaysia. Yes, Malaysia, neutral country. Just having a ships there will hopefully do something like that. We have some in the Persian Gulf, and I'm hoping to do a similar thing with the Ottoman Empire, or even the Arabs over in this way. There we go, a province, Arabia, yeah, Arabia, there you go, controller, there you go. Hopefully we can instigate something there. I've got some in this Red Sea, which is fantastic. Hopefully we can do something down here as well. Southern Egypt has just rebelled against the Ottomans. Maybe we can now invade them, we'll just have to see. It might even give me one against Sudan. If I can grab a load of Africa, that would be fantastic. Emphasis on the Ottomans. I have some out of Cyprus, just lurking. Having them lurking around, we should start seeing some instigations. The French have managed to do it pretty early on. They've managed to grab, of all the places, yeah, So if they can do it with a few ships that they have floating around, then we can certainly do it with a few fleets roaming around. I have some out of Malta as well, again, down here, hoping to do something, maybe even the Greeks, you never know. Another one down here for Morocco, potentially. Nothing is actually really at home defence, but we don't need to worry about that just now. We've got two new fleets building. The one in Plymouth is neither done, we're just waiting on the battleships. And then I think we've got another one in Portsmouth. None of them might be ready yet, but we're building ships at a good rate. Now, lurking around the Americas, we have some off the coast of Halifax, which is fantastic. Hoping to instigate something there, or at least piss off the Americans. Then we have another one near Georgia, again, to piss off the Americans. Then we've got another one which is in the Caribbean and has instigated a conflict in Haiti. So we're going to have our first empire growth. I can't come out with the words. We're going to grow. That's excellent. Again, pissing off the Americans. And we've got another fleet going all the way down here, which is going to go all the way around here to the Western North America. All for the convoys, which are probably going to rock up there, which we can sink, and we can give the Americans a thorough shafting. I might even try and get Pearl Harbor. Having that in the area would definitely give us some supply in the region. I'm definitely going to do that before I forget, actually. There we go. Have a schnazzle around there. And that's actually all of them. So they're all around busy doing things. When the war looks like it's about to happen with America, I will get more ships floating over there. I've got some off the coast down here of whatever that is. There we go. So we can shuffle them over there really easily, and the ones off the coast of Morocco, that's that's 4 battleships, 10, 20 light cruisers, all ready to go. Just shuffle across the Atlantic, done. Extra reinforcements. Now, the Americans currently have a GDP of about a third of ours, total ships, 3 battleships, 6 armoured cruisers, 8 light cruisers, and 20 torpedo boats. But they are building. They are building heavy. So if I can keep my numbers up and just keep feeding the machine in that general area, we should piss them off enough quickly before they get too strong. As we all know, America is a bit of a beast. So that's the plan. And that's the introduction over with. Now I'm going to progress time and see where we get. I'm going to not include all of the faff like many other people like to do. So it's a nice, chunky, girthy YouTube video of goodness. Let's see what we can do. If you are happy that I am doing one of these, I would very much appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe and comment on this first video in particular. The first video on a playlist is so important. If you could do that for me, that'd be great. There we go. British Empire gains control of Haiti. Alrighty, it has finally begun. May 1892, war has erupted between Britain and America. What the situation is I've got rather large amounts of ships on the eastern North American Sea. Our power projection or total tonnage in this area is close to 15,000 tons, whereas the enemy have 64,000. Bit of a difference, but it's the British way of murdering everything. I've got a chunk in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean. I've got some in the central Atlantic just lurking. I've got a fleet which is going towards this little gap here where the enemy seem to keep floating between. The Panama Canal does not exist yet, so they have to send ships all the way across down here. So if I've got a fleet down here, I should be able to pick them off as they come floating around. As when they get down here, they're not going to have anywhere to actually resupply their ships with, whereas I do at Port Stanley. Isn't that wonderful? So that's going to be a bit of a bastard for them to have to deal with. Ships up in this area. These fleets here, I've doubled them up, so there's technically 2 there, 2 in there, 2 in there, and there's going to be a double whammy here as well. So that's going to be a total of 8 fleets that I described earlier. Whereas the enemy have 2 decent sized fleets here. Individually, I don't know how good they're going to be compared to ours. Probably a little bit better. However, I've got so much more. And with all that available tonnage, I should be able to launch a successful naval invasion once we've shafted the enemy fleet. And I'm thinking the southeastern seaboard. Why not? The size of the ports aren't too big, so we should be able to get in there and do something with it. There is the Gulf Coast, could potentially do that. It would be significantly easier. I might even do both at the same time. We'll just have to see how battered our fleet is. I've got some ships off the western coast as well. They don't really have anything out here, ships-wise. We've just got a few stragglers that they end up building. So we're going to be harassing them massively from here. We also have a conquest on an island that Chile owns. And so why not? We're going to go for it. It's Another little outpost that can't hurt. All the other fleets that I had scattered around, they are all focused on this American threat right now. Seeing as war has just happened, oh, there's another fleet going in. Seeing this war has just happened, our monthly balance has skyrocketed, which is fantastic. So I'm going to put crew training up to the max. Now that's going to be a big factor, hopefully in a couple of turns, when our crews are better than the enemies. And the remaining cash, I'm going to throw that in to the tech budget. Fleet. The enemy has 84 ships, 6 battleships, 17 armoured cruisers, 22 light cruisers, and 39 torpedo boats, 11 task forces in general. A number of them are going to be stragglers as they go around the bottom of Central America. They're building 14 and the total tonnage is 183. Army logistics are 33%, that's a big thing. Alright, now as you look at ours, our army is smaller, but our army logistics are 100%. Now that will be mainly because of the sheer number of ships that I now have, which is 308. 30 battleships, 150 light cruisers, and 128 torpedo boats with 24 building. That is ridiculous. With nearly 500,000 worth of tonnage, significantly more than what the Americans have. So I've got a rather good selection of naval ports that I can go for. Now looking at this, that's not quite what I expected. I thought the eastern side will be a little less. I might have to go for the Gulf Coast first. I'm thinking that because I should be able to do that pretty much straight away, and our fleet's probably going to get a bit battered, and until they are repaired, it's going to have to be done. So we'll go for the Gulf Coast first. The situation is now going to be plonked probably in one of these. Usually it's the biggest one, which is going to be that area there. So if we stick some ships in it, that will be lovely. There should be a total of 12,000 tons going in this area, more than double needed to launch this naval invasion, which is wonderful. I'm going to need a lot more than that to do the total over here. Now each one of these has around, call it 70,000, 7, 14, 21 in total-ish there. And I think I needed around 180,000 to do the southeastern seaboard. So as you can see, if we're going to get a little bit battered, I might not quite have the numbers available. So we can at least kick the door in the Gulf Coast. Hopefully we can do just that. If needs be, I can bring in more ships, which are all on the way. This is purely an offensive strategy right now. What I can do is smash the ports while we are sat here, which would be rather wonderful. This fleet here, for example, if I stick them outside of, I don't know, Norfolk, they shall start bombarding it. Now the enemy are sat there waiting quite nastily, but we'll do the same over here. We'll go for Boston, start destroying that. These two fleets I'm a little bit concerned about. They are quite nasty. We'll see what the enemy do. We'll just stick a fleet there and see if they instigate an attack. And straight away we are hitting the enemy transports. What I should have done is had a look at the GDP beforehand, but our fleet has intercepted 7 there. Immediately that gets us points. It doesn't show the GDP damage on here, which I wish it did, but we've also hammered hard that port. Other transports that have lost 4, 5, 6, 7, and it shows the location, and we lost 2 in the eastern North American region. So overall, a massive bonus for us. Oh, I miscalculated the location of that naval invasion, so we better shuffle our way round here. That does actually benefit us quite well, because we have Nassau and the Freeport right there, which means we have more supply in the area. This fleet, which is off the coast of Africa, I'm going to plonk right down there and intercept some of these other little boats that are floating around. There's a battleship there. These aren't quite in position yet, but when they are, that'll be much better. A few battleships and armoured cruisers that we can destroy that are singled out and alone. Excellent. They won't be able to run away either. Torpedo boats will probably have a field day. And there's another spare fleet up here which I'm going to bring into the Caribbean. I've got 2 more fleets currently building, but I'm going to save the rest of shipbuilding capacity for repairs, because that is going to be coming. The enemy large fleets are one there, and there's another one at Norfolk just there, just sat there waiting to be a dick. We'll have to see how they plan to get out of this one. We'll get there, we'll get there. Let's see what they do. Ooh, 5 more transports going down. I forgot to look at the GDP again. And with Hammond, New York, 6,600 smashed. And oh, here we go, a nice juicy battle. Okay. A very juicy battle. 4 battleships. Let's have a quick look at theirs. They have bigger guns. The bulkheads are less. Their speed is slower. I wonder what their armour is. We'll have to have a look. But they do have many 3-inch guns. They're probably a threat to my light cruisers. That's not great. Their armoured cruisers, they've got an 11-inch gun on them. Are you mad? Oh, that's not great, not gonna lie. What are the light cruisers like? They have mini 4-inch guns. They're quite speedy. That's faster than all of mine. The armoured cruisers are faster than mine as well. Torpedo boats. Not so many torpedoes. Okay, I can live with that. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna be a right knob. I'm gonna save this battle for the next episode. Please, before you go, stick on a comment of some kind, like or dislike it. I don't particularly care. Do something, please. This first episode is mightily important. Stick around for this battle. It's going to be a girthy one, and it's going to probably decide the fate of the war. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. This introduction should have been rather wet, and the battle to come will be wetter still. See you there. I'm glad you liked that one. There's more of that on your screen right now. Make sure that you tickle that before you disappear and hit the like button. That makes me rather excited, and if you hit the subscribe button, I'll be even more excited. Don't forget about the links in the description. There's plenty of good things in there, from a Discord link to instant gaming links and all of that shabazz. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra for now.